Hello, hello. Welcome to N-Dowd, where we take you from brokenness to breakthrough. This is a channel where we're going to talk to different people and show you different ways of going through situations in your life to get to a place of empowerment and improving yourself. So really excited today. Got my big sis going to talk about this whole stigma of being a Black woman, how we're always supposed to be strong and how that can pretty much be to our detriment sometimes. So make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Also, this is interactive. Chime in, ask questions. We want all that. Hello.
Hey, how
My
you doing?
name is Candra. We don't really look alike, I don't think.
Yes, we do. I'm endowed with love today. I'm endowed with
Yeah, that's
love.
Please. We do got the same mother and father. This is very, this happens in Black families. No, because there's a lot of ignorance with Black families. Like when someone is a little different tone and all this, they're like, "Oh, you got the same daddy?" Yes, we got the same daddy. Okay.
We look alike. You know what? I need to put up those pictures when I was like fifth, sixth grade. Yep, we
Mm.
twinning. We twinning. Yes.
Oh, are we? Yeah, I don't be seeing it. People always be saying I look like somebody, but I don't be seeing it. But yeah, so let me tell you, this topic with Candor was like perfect because when it comes to her, as far we have two other siblings, two other sisters, but Candor is like the go-to. Even with my friends, if there is an issue, uh, they be like, "Go to Candra." If you need anything from legal advice to you need somebody to go missing, run up the door. This is the sister that knows somebody that can get it done. Okay, so Sawada says, "Hey, Sawada."
Oh, that's oh.
Yeah,
I'm a clown.
but you've always had this, very very tough persona. Uh, since I know you used to tell me when I was born, you saw me as like you had to protect me, so I always had you in that image. But I was really, as we're starting to dive deeper into the psychology of Black women, into mental health, we're learning more and more that this label that's placed on Black women as far as being, have to be strong and always have to be the one to take care of stuff. Like, there's a
Yes.
lot. That's a lot for somebody, you know?
It really is. It's
Mhm.
and it is just that a stigma. It's not and it's one that honestly we live up to. We live
Mhm.
up to. It's across the board, but more so with us. And today I can only speak from being a woman of color. I can't speak from, being a white woman or anything like that. But
Mhm.
I can speak from, being a woman of color that it's like if we don't get it done and the amount of pressure to get it done is
Mhm.
immense because we know what happens if we fail. You
Mhm.
know? So it's there's literally lives on the line if we fail, but
Right.
it does trickle into so many different areas of life.
Yeah. And I find too, there's like this line that we have to walk where to be like you were saying, being determined, and but at the same time, you don't want to be seen as the angry Black woman or the over aggressive, and we gotta figure out our femininity. And it's like there's this tightrope that we are constantly walking to try to
Mhm.
not intimidate other people or
Exactly. I had that conversation the other day, as I was coming out of a culmination of a lifetime of things. And like the past year was just like the period of the sentence of not just I want things to change, but they're gonna change. And
Mm,
I was talking with one of my friends, and then, you're so strong. I don't understand. You're so strong. And I said, you know what? I'm not strong. I'm determined.
mhm,
I'm determined. I don't want to be down, but it doesn't mean I don't get down. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of
mhm.
like the whole soundtrack to life is like a Jill Scott song. It starts from God hear my call to, I need you to now live my life like it's golden, but it's all through there.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I can't wait till my 40s now because they say that in your 40s, that's when it just all comes together. Oh, the whole figuring out yourself. And they say in your 40s, that's when you know who you are, you know what you want, and you pretty much have it figured out by then. It's,
You know what you want before then. The lessons start to come together before then. But
mm,
when you reach the first part of your 40s, when you reach that
mm,
first part, you're like, okay, I do know what I want, but then it's trying to get in there, right? But I tell
mm,
you one thing, on September 6th of this year, when I reached that 45 and I looked in the mirror and I promised myself the next 45 and more were not
mm,
going to be the last 44, because it becomes a settle in no one. You really begin to feel that your peace is not negotiable. And
mm,
you really begin to feel the acceptance of your body, your spirit, your mental. It really, when you make it through and you dig out of all that stuff and you're like, you know what, wait a minute. Oh, no, not right now, not today. And
mhm,
but it becomes a whole nother thing of wanting that peace and you really know what it is. It's not something that like, it's not just words. You really begin to feel what that piece is. Oh yeah.
mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the progression of like dealing with relationships. So with men, still a fine line that you have to toe and have to walk. Where I really like what you were telling me the other day, where I mean, I can understand the women having this, throwing this energy of, I don't need a man, I don't need, the independent woman. With me and you, I mean, our sister, like, we were raised to be independent. This is, we were like, it's non negotiable because you never know what's going to happen. So it was ingrained in us to be independent. But when it comes to relationships, that can also kind of be tough to
Mhm.
balance, because the guy, they start thinking, oh, well, maybe she don't need me and stuff like that.
Which is weird, but yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fine line of balancing, and I again, when you get to a certain age, you're not trying to figure it out anymore. Trying to figure out, what are men saying to me? Well, say what you're gonna say.
Mm,
At this age, you should be who you're gonna be. Before this, you should be comfortable enough in your own skin. And what's really crazy is what I have found in different scenarios of dating, um, becoming engaged, and me having to pull out of those was that my independence wasn't seen as a compliment, and it should be.
mm,
For example, like when they're dating, trying to like prove themselves. Well, why don't you prove that you can be a partner? And
mm,
when you go into an arena of yourself where you're like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to try to get a man. This man has to get me. But they also have to realize that who I am is actually a compliment. And again, I can only speak from myself,
mm,
because it's like when you go out to make the money, right, as a man,
mhm,
when you come home, if I'm independent, The lights aren't shut off. There's food in the refrigerator, and the money you've worked hard to bring into the home is being spent and dealt with in a way so that you don't go further into debt. And then even when you need me to kick in, I'm not seeing you as less of a man that I have to go get as well so that the family can thrive. You know, so that's the mentality that men should be at. But I found at this age, if I sit in that, that is now the type of man that is looking at me. That is now the type of man that they're gonna go get it. We're in COVID right now,
Right.
you know, and it's a hard gig for everyone. So it's kind of like there are still those men that exist that want to front and be like, yeah, I can pay for everything. No, you can't rent a pandemic, you know. But what does your soul say? What does your heart say? How does that speaking to you, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I also, what's interesting I find about the strong, independent women is that a lot of times we end up in relationships that are toxic because we are trying to compensate for, allowing a man to be the man, but wanting to be, being in these situations where the man wants us to be weaker or a little bit more, I don't know, calm. I don't know the word. But did you have previous relationships that were like toxic that you found yourself in, and you're looking back, you're like, how did I even get there?
yeah, a ton of them. I
Yeah.
was a toxic magnet. But what always would shock me is that once I left the toxicity and there was time apart, 100% of those men turned around and said, I see you now. And I literally found myself in like the past few relationships, literally it was coming out of my mouth. Why can't you see me? Why can't you see who I am? And when I found out you have to beg someone to see you, let them be blind. Let them be blind, because then you start to go to that level where you're no longer the person you thought that you were, and you lose yourself in all of that.
Yes.
And what was amazing to me was at the culmination of everything, at the lowest point, and I honestly feel like 44 really was probably the lowest point in my life. And I even contemplated suicide. And it was two little baby faces. Well, not babies, they were teenagers. Two little faces peeping around the corner of the bedroom that saved my life. And I told them, I said, you saved my life. But from starting from there, it took me into inner child work. Have you heard of inner child work?
No.
Okay. So inner child work is probably one of the most intensely terrifying, gratifying things you'll ever do. Because that inner child work will take you into where that woman started as a child. So there's so many things that we pull into ourselves along our journey growing up, all the way from infancy through, that we are not aware of, that we haven't come to terms with, that we put Band-Aids on. And again, you're strong Black women, just keep going. You need help. You do this. No, stop. Take a moment and seriously walk through getting those things to the surface. And then at times when you're going through it, there's an exercise I was walking through where I visualized myself as a child. And in that visualization, I embraced myself and said, I will always be here for you. I will take care of you. I love you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be on top all the time. You can ask for help. I'm here for you. And truly embrace myself, visualized as a child. But when you go through those things and that light comes to you and you're like, that's why I took that mess from this guy. But also, here's the other thing. Sometimes call that out of people as well. So
Mm.
we can pull from that person that we're dealing with that mistreatment, because in a way we're asking for it in our behavior of acceptance. We teach people how to treat us.
Yes, I say that all the time. Yes. Yes, that's so true. Yeah.
You know, and it never goes to just one instance. One instance is always a culmination of the
Mhm.
avalanche just came down in 44, but everything was the avalanche, it was always rolling, but the avalanche came down. And it doesn't matter who you're with or who you're dealing with. If you're not healed inside, if you're not willing to just lay back and
Mhm.
let it come to you, if you're constantly having to see why you're always having to do that, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have.
Yeah. Hey, CC. Yeah. So, and I think too, where things get misconstrued is we're thinking if we put up with a lot of the men's bullshit or take a little bit, like eventually they'll see me, eventually they'll appreciate me, eventually this will all turn around. And really, that's not what's happening. What you're doing is rewarding their behavior of mistreating you and is going to continue. Yeah. Javel said, "Live by that now. Teach you how to treat me." Yeah, you have to teach people how to treat you.
And you don't even have to take it in the standpoint of a motherly teach. It's an adult thing. You know, the way I teach my son is not the same way I would, teach a man. There's the better word for it is to, that you mold into one another. So
Mm-hmm.
if I am giving you an ear, give me an ear. If I am giving you forgiveness, give me forgiveness.
Yes.
If I am giving you my heart and my loyalty, give me your heart and your loyalty. If I am giving you my truth, give me your truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody is perfect. No one is perfect. And I do live by the rule of leaving room in the planet for people to transform, because people had to do that for me. I'm not the same person I was at 30. I'm not the same person I was as a teenager. There have been people in my life that left room for my transformation. So I
Yeah.
do that for others. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't always have to transform in my presence. You
Yeah.
can transform away from me. And then when you come back and you show me
Mm-hmm.
a change of heart or a transformation, then we can start from there. If I'm willing.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm,
Two, I would like to talk about. So there was a time where you were the angry black woman. Growing up, I remember, like I said, Candra was the person you call when you somebody nuts. You go, yep,
I will tell somebody, yeah.
yeah, okay. So let's talk about the misconceptions of women that we encounter that are quick to go from 0 to 100. Women that we encounter that are very sensitive, are very like this. This is something deeper than just see an angry black woman. There's a whole lot more that's attached to that, and there's actually another message that they're sending out by being that way.
Yeah, it's several layers to it. The first part is, and the simplistic part of it is, when you are too complacent, or when you have been too complacent, and you haven't been given the tools of negotiation, you haven't been given the tools of like deflecting the situation or diffusing situations.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been given those tools and you haven't been shown that there's another way, then your first instinct is, I just want this to stop. And the first thing that you will hear is, you need to stop. You will hear a lot of women close, you need to stop. People just keep going, keep going. They just keep going. They just keep piling
You were
up.
given that warning call. You gave the warning call.
So it's like, I just asked you nicely to stop. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, people get so wrapped up on the outside of what they want to do and
Mm-hmm.
what they're feeling, they don't stop and think about the other person. But here it is, the majority of women of color myself included, we have to think about everyone else all the time. So it's second nature. So what happens is when you come that way, there's already several other things going on. So I need to put a stop to your stupidity real quick. So back in the day, if I cut you, you're gonna stop, right? So, but that's wrong. That's wrong. Don't do that.
The statute has passed.
We're not gonna do that. No, we're not gonna do that. I'll put it to.
Yeah.
So, but then as I, going into becoming a specialized paralegal, going into warrant service, being a deputy, things of that nature, you were taught negotiation and to bring situations down that were escalating, like your life was in danger. So you have to bring those things down. So then it was like I started putting those things into life a little bit more. But also, even when it comes to like the situations that we get into now, as far as like dealing with police officers and dealing with situations that can go off the rails. I tell my son, live to sue. Now, if you don't know how everything works, it can take you on the ride. But getting back to women of color, we're not angry. We're not angry. We're upset. We're hurt. We're tired. Okay. There's a single mother here that I met, just, children, all boys. She's raising by herself, trying to take care of them financially in COVID, trying to keep them in school in COVID, and trying to level up so that she's not always paycheck to paycheck. She's getting a degree at the same time.
Right.
There is no time and no room to deal with the ignorance of someone who cannot consider the fact that they reside on this planet with a whole lot of other people. We are not alone here. People have feelings. Right. We have emotions, and we are human beings.
Yeah.
And we look out from the color of our skin to the back in the day when I was coming up, the big butt, you made fun of that. Now they're going to get surgery for it. Everything that we brought to the table, from educated rap to how we educate our kids to how we cook our food to how we multitask to how we put a doobie in our hair. All of a sudden it's brand new. But we've been doing it for so long, but then where's the credit?
Right. So
it's not even about just being angry. It's about
right. What the hell? Yeah, Jamal, he says, I see the struggle through my wife and daughter. What's expected for a Black woman to carry, which it's by all standards are unrealistic and unfair. Yes, Jamal. It's about people understanding the plight of the Black women. Jamal says, period. I knew she was the one that said that before she said it. And also we have to take into account the environment that we are brought up in. So even though we came from a real small town, you got mixed in with the wrong people. So that kind of
I found them. I had to, I found them. I went between by the time I was like 13, 14 years old, I had connections with people that were not savory, from Chicago to Brooklyn to LA to Compton to Santa Fe, New Mexico to Miami. So I found them. But when you are...
It was more so for protection for a family. You were looking for family. Because usually people say when people do these things, they're looking for a family or something.
We had a big family, but some of this, like, to protect the innocent, some of this was actually normal to me. You and Daddy came along at a transition time. Older sis Keith, she would know, but she was exposed more than there was me. And then there was, the change in environment, the change in scenery, the getting wise and things like that. And I'll put it to you like this. It does go to the home environment,
Mm-hmm.
but being older, I will
Mm-hmm.
say this about our parents.
Mm-hmm.
Look back when we were 21.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they were 21, they were married. Dad was coming out of school. There were two kids involved. All these different things going on, getting, housing. And they also were coming up in a time where dad was like the first black everything, first black executive was at first black put together, the computer club that helped the children at the college level and all these other things. Dad was like breaking barriers, and he was, mom from Chicago. There's a whole different dynamic. So when you're younger and you're trying to blend all these things together and raise these people that don't come with a manual, we're going to get mixed up in some stuff. We're going to get mixed up in some things, but I wouldn't change a thing. It
Mm-hmm.
made me the parent I am today. It made me the person I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and instead of me saying what I didn't want to be, I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. And I
So
think
I
it makes you more well-rounded too, because you have street culture, street knowledge, and you are very educated. So you're able to see things in a completely different light because you've done the street stuff and you know how the corporate world moves as well. Which, I mean, you saw the corporate world could be just as toxic as the street world, so it's just as cutthroat as the street. Right, right, yeah.
and even going into that arena, the corporate arena, my goodness, you know, it's a battlefield on a normal day, but when you walk into it and you are a woman of color and you see that everyone around you, like 90% is not, and so then you start, saying, okay, well, let me invest in the corporate ladder. Let me get my degree. Let me, go for this promotion. Let me earmark everything. Let me, but then you see, no, they say one thing, but they do another. So then again,
There's no code.
there is no code. There is
Yeah.
no code. And what this, and because I came from even professionally before I went into corporate, it was a different background. When you're dealing in like the family court or criminal defense, public defender's office, things of that nature, oh, you stick together. You really do. Um, People's literal lives are in front of you on the line, stacked up. So
Mhm.
it's a different camaraderie. But corporate, and you simplify things. In that setting, in the defender's office, you have to get things done. You simplify it. Let's say how we can do this, how we can get this there. You're not taking the complicated route because everything's coming down the pipe. In the corporate world, does not make sense. Some of the things that they do, and the internal struggle is this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing this?
Mhm.
But then when you see that you are more qualified and they want to make someone else your boss, and see, because I came from a different background, my words were, no, they can't lead me. So I was seen as, I pushed back, I was argumentative, I was, all these different things. And I'm like, no, I'm speaking facts to you. So then I had to switch. And in the environment I was into, again, I had to sign some things, so I can't say, company, things like that, or different companies. So I noticed that the hiring practices seem wrong, the promotionary practices seem wrong. So I started talking to the few people of color that are there, a few people, and getting information that I needed
Mhm.
to sue. So
Oh my God.
so I didn't talk anymore. I didn't argue anymore. I just took notes. I just
Mhm.
took notes. Oh, we're doing this? Okay. So what is the criteria? How did this person get promoted? Okay. What
Mhm.
people do they have? Okay. And to this day, I still say, okay. But once I had all the okays I needed,
Yeah. They said they ain't nothing scarier than a woman that just says okay. Not if she plies. So let's look at some of these comments. Cece said, "This is why I love you. They want to be us till it's time to be us."
Yeah.
We have Shawana. She said, "Our time is all over the place, but with structure. However, our time is valuable, which makes us tired when people try to waste our time." Yeah,
There it is. Don't waste my time.
you don't understand because they're thinking about themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Inconsiderate. Yeah, and she said we're looking for stabilization. Uh, Catherine says, "Love y'all, dad." Yeah, yay. Thug life, educated life.
We're gonna go with educated life. We're gonna go
We
with
have to go 3 times harder just to move half a foot ahead. And this is where I find it dismissive in the workplace for, if a black woman has a little chip on her shoulder, she's irritable. Just know there's a reason why. And actually, I feel that and this is why I think that a lot of us have a lot of mental issues because we have trained ourselves to deal with microaggressive behavior and signals throughout our lives, but we know how to put on another face or behave another way. But we peep the shit and then we got to deal with that internally. And some of us don't know how to handle that. So it comes out in other ways, which you
there are better ways. There are better ways. As I've been going through and working on myself, even starting before 45, there's some things where I just said I won't engage. And I had friends around me like, you need to say this, and your response need to be this. And I said, well, I don't need a response because I've already decided it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
Even internally, it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
Whether it's internal or external, you don't know how much time you have. You don't know how much time you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you invest your brain power, your heart power, your time, your oxygen, your life force to something that is worth it, not worthless people. Meaning that, and I'm not saying that people in themselves are worthless. I'm saying if you've got a worthless action coming your way, make it worthless here, make it worthless here, and literally close your eyes and get a big broom and just brush it out. And focus on literally start repeating to yourself the good things of your day, the things that you're grateful for, and the goals that you have set for yourself. Yeah. And it takes your mind off of that sinking feeling, that feeling of being less that women of color get all the time. I remember hearing as a kid, you're cute for a dark girl. What does that mean?
All right.
To the point where, like, even in the classroom and things like I was studying in the classroom, these two little kids are going back and forth. And is they're going, I said, they'll work it out. Your mama did, your brother dabbled. So then the boy looks at the little girl and said, well, you look black anyway. I turned around and said, what does that mean? Is that supposed to be a slight? Is that supposed to be a negative? I said, she is a beautiful young lady. I said, your mother is the same color as her. Why is this a slight? Why is this negative?
Yeah.
And that's the question is you can ask why or you can say it won't be anymore.
And this is where I think also contributes to our mental detriment because not only are we dealing with the microaggression from other people of color, we got to deal with it in our own communities.
In our own community.
The judgment, all of that. Yeah, like you said, you have to get to the point. You got a lot of background noise. What's going on?
AC. Hold on. I turn it off.
Okay. Yeah. Oh Lord, this chair, I'm about to fall. When I know. Some of you guys also, I want to just remind you can ask questions during the time or share your own stories during this time. Um, your experiences, we would like to hear about it. So yeah, like Sawada, she said, "Be ready to snatch someone straight ball with a look." And Sawada,
And
this
that's
my sister's best friend. Okay, she was like her back in the day. I know what she on now, but she was also the one you go to. Somebody messing with me, she ready.
yeah, you do,
Right.
you do.
In our little small town. Yeah.
Close to Chicago.
She's in Chicago now. But yeah, from our own people, I think, but this is something you had to remind me because we do get so wrapped up in how other people, what other people say to us and not say to us. I had a friend the other day, like she texted me because someone close to her, she doesn't feel as supportive. And I was just thinking about what you were saying, you just have to focus on yourself, focus on your goals,
It's,
but it is disappointing. It is hard when you
it's,
have the support of your people.
you have to like, and I don't know how I did it with my child.
Mm-hmm.
It did stop the language of you're not going to be like this, you're not going to be like that. I would show him different, and then being in New York, it was very easy to find culture, to see. So I am very happy that my son is not what we call color struck. My
Mm-hmm.
son sees the beauty in white women, Hispanic women, Asian women, dark skinned women, big women, skinny women. He's
Yeah, he's very well rounded.
very well rounded. He's
Doesn't
very
really have
well
a
rounded.
preference.
And even still, he talks about the heart. He really, like, even at this age, as he's, coming into goals and what he wants to do with his life and things of that nature, he knows he wants family, but he
Mm-hmm.
knows that. What does he tell you? Mom, I don't want no crazy woman. I want somebody who I can be
Yeah.
and who won't put me through drama. He doesn't want drama. And a lot of that comes from I have literally fought to keep drama away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever goes on in my adult life, there is a barrier and it is called me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, we're only as strong as glass. So,
Mm-hmm.
it can come through sometimes. So that's another one. If you any person out there, any male who's like trying to understand what's going on in your woman's head, any woman who thinks that somebody's not really saying it right, Guapale has a song called Strong as Glass.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything. She says, I may be as strong as glass, I could be built to last, but if I break, there's no more.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we are as mothers. That's what we are as Black women. That's why we have to be strong. Glass is strong, but if you throw it hard enough, it will shatter. But when it shatters, you see. So especially as women of color, we've got to work more on self love.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to work more because when we are strong and we're like, okay, that strong, it turns on our bodies.
Right.
It turns on our physicality. You
Right.
know, that's why a lot of us are not surviving.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be more determined to survive
Mm-hmm.
and also not just survive, but to live, and not just to live, but to thrive, and not just to thrive, but to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
To really, really take that time to stop and smell the roses. And if we're dealing with someone who doesn't hear when we say you need to stop, then we just need to leave them alone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that if they won't stop, we just need to stop. Let them do what they're gonna do, and maybe one day they'll see and feel, not just see, but feel what they're putting us through. But we
Yeah.
don't. There's no conversation that can induce that. They don't want to hear you. They,
Mm-hmm.
they need to see it for themselves. So while they're seeing it for themselves, you pull yourself back. You do what you need to do to heal you, to love you, to take care of you, so that
Yeah.
you can live a happy, healthy life.
Yeah. focus on yourself. Like you said, don't be afraid to ask for help. Let me tell you, I'm a huge proponent of therapy. Love therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. It does not make you weaker. I think in our culture, it's seen as a weakness or there's something wrong with you if you haven't ever gone to a therapist or going to therapy. But that's slowly being changed, that perception. I think with the next generation is changing. More so like our parents' generation. They're like, you're crazy.
Yes, go to therapy. It's a safe place. Therapy is no judgment zone. You go in there, no judgment zone. They will give you the tools. They give you the tools, not just they show you how to, work through when you're having a really, really bad day, or you work through when you're really trying to do your focus on your internal locus of control and not the external,
Mhm.
so that that's where you stand. They'll give you the tools for that. So I think that'll be coming up there.
Like Taraji mentioned, Jesus did a video and she was like, your therapist is not your church, your therapist is not your mama, your therapist like therapy is a whole other entity.
Yeah.
Church, people, they can't replace a professional. Sometimes you gotta pull from multiple,
Mhm.
resources.
Yeah, and they'll give you the tools. You better do the work, though. You better do the work
Yeah.
because it pays
Yes.
off. It's hard. It's not easy, but it pays off. I
Mhm.
tell people all the time that that I can see her struggling with something, or I'm like, it's not easy,
Yeah.
you know, but the other side is beautiful. It really is. It
Mhm.
really.
Yeah. So Wanda wants people to know that she's still thugging in her mommyhood. And she loves her therapist. And Jamel's actually using my therapist. She's an awesome lady. And that's the thing with a therapist too, because I know people who went to a bad therapist and would completely turn off the therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Our bad therapist. I think a therapist is also like dating. Like you just gotta try different ones till you find the one that works for you.
Yeah, and then there's therapists, and then there's sometimes you might need to cleanse your house. You might have something around you don't need.
Mm,
So that too, like if you have something in your home that you should not have,
mm,
okay, cleanse your
mm,
home. Not
mhm.
just clean home. My friends make fun of me. They're like, we can bring our babies over and throw them on the ground. But I'm not gonna have anything, none of that up in here.
Yes, but no, energy is everything. Like, yeah, that's true. You can go to all the therapists, put all the work you want, but if there's someone in your circle or in your house or something that's
Yes,
toxic, it's gonna
yes,
unravel everything. So
yes.
you have to protect yourself first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Oh,
let's oh, what's happening? You working on something?
all day, baby, all day.
Okay. Well, actually, that's what I was gonna get into. Some of your latest projects that you're working on, what you have going on.
Oh my goodness. So basically what I did was I combined my projects into one company, and that was on the advice of my business coach. Shout out to Chris Holder. Would not be where I'm at right now. He is one of my foundation stones. So wine, definitely, my wine shop at home challenge. They were actually going to have a tasting with the winemaker in November. I'll be sending out those links. You get your
Cool.
winemaker is going to get on and talk about things. So that's going to be a good one. And you can really just like have a, one of those moments you just explore the wine. Yes.
Yeah.
Another leg of my company, we've gotten into not just credit repair, but education, and taking that education and making sure that, one thing that, a lot of people have trouble getting that have issues of a certain sort is life insurance. You need life insurance. So we put all those things, the education into it, cleaning up the credit. But yeah, clean up the credit, mess it up again. No, get educated on how you're supposed to keep this together, and not just keep it together. Then you need to build. You need to build your money. So that's a whole nother leg that we have. And then of course I still have my education leg. which I'm like, every time I look at it, I'm like, are you kidding me? My wait list now is 3,000 globally, for me to get kids in class with me. So I'm putting that into a virtual format as well.
And
And
what's the website that you're using for your classes for people that want to find another stream of income?
okay, Outschool. And if you can put my email up, if you email me, send you a link and give you some pointers on how to get started. Outschool was a lifesaver when we first transitioned, and they shut down everything in COVID. It was a literal lifesaver, and it gave me not only income that I needed to, survive, but also gave me income to invest in my other legs of business. So there's that. And then I also have an adult education platform that I'm working on as well, which is going to be coming out and launching hopefully at the beginning of December. So that's what I'm working on with that. It's an adult
Our school has adult courses too?
No, Outschool is for kids. My adult class will be on a separate platform, and I'll be putting that up on my Facebook and Instagram
Okay.
to go.
So
And
yeah,
I'm still cooking, y'all. I'm still cooking. I'm still cooking. The YouTube channel will be relaunching soon. I'm still cooking. There's a lot going on. I'm doing a lot.
yeah, a lot going on. Like Kaden, your assistant.
He is actually. Caden is going to be helping me on the technology front, and he actually has some new music he's been working on. He's going to put out my theme music for my channel and everything. So he's been working on production, his comic book. Yeah.
Yes, my nephew's very creative.
It's a creative house. It's a creative house.
Yeah, very creative.
And
So
I
I
just got
put
more
your
space.
email in the comments if you guys want to know about her wine company, about ways to make money with the out school. And actually, I have a friend. She's doing the out school too. She's doing good. She's teaching how to sew. Like you can literally come up with any course, and then yeah. I was thinking about doing some like meditation courses.
You can do pretty much anything as long as it's interactive. And there's all types of ways to to get started. But how I took mine from literally, it was like a trickle to a flood and just high ratings across the board. The interaction, like there's a total way between in the classroom and out. And you put it together and parents tell other parents and your ratings get up there and it's cool. And so now my tutoring now is private. I haven't opened any public time because my tutoring is private. So
you can charge more money, I'm assuming.
Yeah. To lock me down, yep.
Yeah. And Candra also has a legal background as well. We also go to her for pro bono advice.
I got my sources too. My sources to double check. I'm not practicing law without a license.
Right. She speaks Spanish fluently. She's just, typical Renaissance. Nothing she can't do. But yeah, I want to thank you so much for doing this with me. My sister's a very private person. So I'm very ecstatic. You dropped a lot of gems today.
I did, thank you.
You did. So love you.
Love you too.
Bye guys.
Bye everyone.